Here I go, here I go, here I go. Yeah, here I go, here I go.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to yet another episode of the Take Podcast. I'm, of course, your host, Jackson Burleson, and in today's episode, I got Brandon Ferguson alongside in this episode. Appreciate you hopping on.
Thank you. Finals episode. This is huge.
I know, right? And he is a Lakers fan, so we will get into those Lakers in a little bit. I know you're in pain right now.
I don't think I want to get into the Lakers at this point.
So first, I want to start out with, because the finals are set, it's Mavericks Celtics, but the conference finals, to me, they weren't really that competitive. There was literally a sweep, and then the Timberwolves series was 5 games. So in my opinion, I wasn't too pleased about the conference finals, but they were super, super competitive. All the games were close, like in both series, East and West. Here's one thing I want to point out. With the Celtics, easiest path to the NBA finals in NBA history. We'll look at the injuries. Jimmy Butler, Terry Rozier on my Miami Heat were out. Okay, we go to the second round. Jared Allen, Donovan Mitchell didn't play. And then you go to the Eastern Conference Finals. They almost lost game 1, which the Pacers just completely blew it. They should have called a timeout. If everybody knows what I'm talking about, if you go and watch that play, it was very heartbreaking. Then Halliburton gets injured. And now the Celtics are having a cakewalk to the NBA Finals. So is this Celtics run legit if they win?
I'd say it's legit because if all those players were healthy, I still think the Celtics would be in the same position. Maybe a few series would have been extended.
What about my Miami Heat though? We beat them last year.
Terry Rozier and Jimmy Butler.
Yes.
I mean, Terry Rozier. He averaged like 10 against the Celtics this year. So like, he's a good player. Like he's good, like great role player.
Right.
And Jimmy Butler is like obviously playoff Jimmy is real.
Right.
I just think the Celtics had too much for that Heat roster. I don't like, maybe it would have won an extra game with Jimmy, but I don't think last year you guys won and almost folded that.
Almost blew a 3-0 lead.
If Tatum doesn't roll his ankle the first minute last, I don't know.
I know.
So I think it maybe would have extended a game with Jimmy, but I think the Celtics would have still cruised through the East. I think everybody was healthy.
The main issue when I look at it is Jason Tatum in these playoffs is shooting below league average from the three-point line. He has not been playing well. I've seen, you look at his game log, like 2 for 7, 1 for 8. Like, you cannot be shooting, like, was it 27% from the three-point line? You can't do it. You can't do it and then be the best player on the Celtics.
So this is a Tatum thing for you or a Celtics thing?
I think it's a Tatum thing because I want Jason Tatum to be so great. And we put him on this pedestal with Kobe. He wants to be like Kobe.
He puts himself on that pedestal.
Right, he puts himself there, and does he have that killer instinct?
Well, all the people like Devin Booker wants to be Kobe. He's not even close.
Because Jaylen Brown's been closing more than JT has.
And that's the thing when it comes to Tatum. I think the Celtics have such a good team, like, top to bottom, that Tatum doesn't have to be, even though he coins himself as the superstar and a lot of the league recognize him as the superstar, with how good this team is, and Kristaps been hurt the whole playoff run pretty much as well.
Right.
So with how good this team's been and Derek White stepping up and just their great rotations, I feel like Tatum doesn't have to be that great player, but in this finals, I think he will have to.
Right, and he didn't have to be that great player through the cakewalk of the Eastern Conference.
No.
It was just an absolute cakewalk.
Jaylen Brown was the best player of the Celtics run so far.
Absolutely. I think Jaylen Brown is proving he's worth that ridiculous contract that they gave him, but we'll see, because I just don't know, because they always trade. Who's going to close the game? In the Indiana series, it was like, is Jaylen Brown going to close or is it Jason Tatum? They seem to go back and forth a lot, and I don't like that.
And that's going to be the same thing in the West, too, with Luka and Kyrie going back and forth. And obviously, I feel like I'd rather have Luka and Kyrie at the end of the game than Tatum and Brown. But I don't know. Tatum, when Brown's playing like that and doing everything he did in Game 1 with the steals, with the game-winning or game-tying force overtime, Tatum doesn't have to be this great player, but in the finals, everything is going to get exposed. And if he's not that great player, it might come back to bite him.
Right. I think then he struggled in his last finals, which everyone's saying, oh, they got experience this year. Like, what? I don't know if it matters or not. But in my opinion, we'll get into the series, but the Pacers series, to me, I think they could have easily lost. There were like 3 games in that series that they won by 1 possession. Andrew Nembhard in Game 3 had 32 points. The Pacers should have won that game too. There were a lot of opportunities for the Pacers, and it was so frustrating because I picked them to win in 7 games because I hate the Celtics so much, but no, I can't do it.
And if anybody were to pick the Pacers, it would have been in 7 because the Celtics, I mean, they're just a better team. I think the Pacers led in the fourth quarter like 3 out of the 4 games that were played.
Right.
But, the better team prevailed, and it just came like player by player. You can go down the roster. The Celtics have the better team. And
we all know they're the better team. We're just waiting for them to perform like they're the best team in the league.
And they haven't had to in the East.
Nope.
They haven't had to. And that's been what it is. It's not necessarily a not.
And it wasn't just the Celtics' path. It was everybody else's path. Like even the Pacers, they didn't even have to play Giannis. They didn't even have to play
Brunson
Dame.
hurt Game 7.
Brunson was injured. OG was injured. Mitchell Robinson, Julius Randle was hurt.
Well, Thibodeau ran the Knicks into the ground all season. I mean, when you're playing people 48 minutes a game, people are not going to stay healthy. But after Dame and Giannis, their injuries happened. Giannis not even touching the court in the playoffs, and Dame missing 2 games in the first round. That was the matchup everybody wanted. I feel like they wanted the Bucks and the Celtics. So once the Bucks they got injured, it was kind of barbecue chicken for the Celtics.
It was kind of
set in stone for the Celtics to win the East.
The East is very different from the West this year because the West, I feel like everyone was healthy. It was just 1 through 10. You have a team that could potentially win it. All the way at the bottom with the Warriors, I've said this, but that series with the Timberwolves and Mavericks, I was really expecting the Timberwolves to do better, but how can you I feel like against the Nuggets, they beat the Nuggets, and then everybody overlooked what the flaws of the Timberwolves were, which they don't have another shot creator outside of Anthony Edwards to create. You can't, Jaden McDaniels, he's not going to go create his own shot. I'm sorry. Mike Conley's probably the only other guy that you can say, hey, go create another shot. I think Ant just didn't have enough help.
And in that series with the Nuggets, I feel like the Timberwolves were the best team to match up with the Nuggets in the West. I feel like if the Mavs would have played the Nuggets, that would have been problems for the Mavericks. But, yeah, I mean, the Timberwolves, they're a little too young. I mean, obviously Mike Conley is old, but, they're just a little too short. And I wanted that series to go 6 or 7 games.
And what was it, Cat like 4 of 32 from at one point?
He shoots 1,500 shots every day, though.
Oh, but he's the greatest shooting big man of all time. Well, if he's shooting, which before Game 5, I literally tallied it up, he was shooting 8 of 37 from the three-point line.
Like, imagine being 7 foot, over like 250 pounds, and just chucking up threes all day. Like every time I seen Cat shoot a 3, it made me so mad just to see him jack up threes when he should be down low. But I guess that was what Gobert was supposed to do. But Gobert was doing a little bit more than me in the series, and I was nowhere near Minnesota or Dallas. So
should the Timberwolves trade Cat?
It depends what they get for him. I feel like they should trade Gobert. I think nobody's going to take that contract.
I don't know how he's a defensive player of the year and then can't play defense.
Well, yeah,
and that series, they were like, oh, you can go.
Wow.
You're like, oh, you can go guard Aaron Gordon. We'll have Cat guard Jokic.
Yeah. I feel like if they can get a good deal for Cat, they should trade him. But they have a good young roster. They're going to be very formidable in the West for years to come. But the West is by far the more competitive conference.
I feel like the Timberwolves, they're just missing another shot creator.
Yeah.
I think that's honestly all they're missing. Yeah. They're missing because Cat is not that typical Robin.
No.
That we see in the NBA.
Nope.
He's not. He's a pretty soft player. I'll put it light. He's not aggressive in the post. I've never been a fan of Cat because he's been on that team for so long and they were just so bad for so long. And then you get Anthony Edwards, and he's like, oh, well, you got this 22-year-old kid coming in.
That was supposed to be him. That was
right. It was supposed to be him. He was the number 1 pick.
Yeah.
2015. He's been in the league for a long time.
Ever since Ben Simmons put him in that headlock, I feel like it's been downhill for Cat. And, but the Timberwolves, they were, poverty franchise ever since KG left. And
that was their first conference finals in 20 years.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
KG was there.
Yeah. And obviously the Kevin Love era, but yeah, Ant's by far the greatest, player they've seen in the last 20 years.
For the Mavericks, to me, I just think like it was the advantage of their duo. Like they were scoring Luka and Kyrie were scoring 60 plus a couple of games combined. Like in game 1 against the Timberwolves, like bro, Kyrie's got 24 in the first half, and then Luka's like, okay, I'll close the deal for you. I got you.
And they play like Kyrie's fast pace, and then Luka just slows it down, dribbles you to sleep, then hits down, knockdown 3 or step back 3 in your face. And I don't know, they can each give you 30 in a blink of an eye. So their offensive, it's going to come down to their defense and picking up P.J. Washington and Daniel Gafford.
I think Luka's just so good at using his body, and he can just manipulate a defense so much.
Yeah.
I mean, I think they were leading the playoffs in alley-oops this year. I believe literally every single pick and roll, you got to watch out for Luka. He's a threat everywhere. I'm just worried about his knee. I wonder if his knee's going to be okay. He's been playing through it all playoffs long. It's been bleeding like after every game.
Time, yeah. And I don't know, this week and a half break should do Luka good on that front. And it's it's going to be one of the best finals we've seen maybe since that first Cavs Warriors or even the 3-1 comeback.
I think it's definitely has the potential. I just think the Celtics have so many like guys that can create their own shot. Like I mean, you can go down the line like with the Mavericks. Like correct me if I'm wrong, but I think in my opinion, there's only 2 guys on that roster that can really create for their own and create for others. Like P.J. Washington, he usually doesn't create for himself. He's going to be in the corner primarily. And he's a good defender, but I just don't defensively, which we can get into the series and all the matchups, but I just think the Celtics have more guys that can get their own bucket.
Yeah, and it's just going to come down to whether, in the fourth quarter, because if the Celtics let the Mavericks stick around like they let the Pacers stick around, the Mavericks are going to make them pay big time with Luka and Kyrie. And it's just going to come down to whether Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum are clutch. That's what it's going to come down to. That's what I think, at least.
And, by the way, Jason Tatum in these playoffs shoots 20% from the three-point line in the fourth quarter.
That's abysmal.
In the fourth quarter.
That's abysmal.
Like, come on. You play 9.5 minutes per game in the fourth quarter. I'm telling you, if Jason Tatum can be consistent on the three-point line and actually be a legit threat, if he shoots like 34%, a little bit better, it's going to be hard to beat him.
Yeah, and Porzingis coming back, how healthy he is, if he's come back fresh and like plays at the level that he left off at, that's going to be a big advantage for the Celtics.
Do you think Porzingis will start when he comes back?
He's healthy. Just got a notification earlier. He's healthy for game 1, and I think Missoula might as well start him if he's healthy, and if he's going out there, he's going to play. There's no reason why you shouldn't start him.
I mean, because you got a big man that literally can create off the dribble, stretch the floor. The only problem I have with Porzingis is his interior defense. It's abysmal. I think Gafford is going to really have his way down there because we've seen Gafford all playoffs long, even in the first round against the Clippers, like with Zubac. Like he was bodying Zubac. He was down there just being really efficient. And like you said, like getting Gafford and P.J. Washington for the Mavericks. I mean, they were like the 23rd ranked defense before getting him, and then they were top 5 in the league after that. I mean, that's why they've made it this far, because no one thought the Mavericks were going to make the finals. Let's be honest here. No one did.
Yeah, they were almost out of the playoffs 3 weeks before it started. Like, nobody thought. If you would have told me Suns, Nuggets, I really thought the Nuggets were going to go back-to-back. I thought they were.
I did too. I just thought Jokic, like you said, like Timberwolves matched up so well with them.
Yeah,
and even your Lakers, I mean, they matched up with them as well. And
when you lead a series for 170 minutes and only win 1 game, I mean, what are we doing? Like, God, I knew it. In that first game, game 1, we led, we're up by like 12 heading into the fourth quarter. That meant nothing. We're up by 20 in game 2. That meant nothing. Once we dropped both games, we're ahead, and I mean, we were cooked, and so JJ Redick's gonna be the coach, so yeah, it's over.
Yeah, we'll get into JJ Redick in a little bit, and also Bronny James. So please stick around for a second.
Sorry, Craig.
But
yeah, back to the Celtics big man. So Horford, Porzingis. Who's their third big man?
Horford, Porzingis, Luke Cornett.
Oh, Luke Cornett. The big court.
I'll be honest, I don't see him coming in and making an impact. I don't see him doing it.
So it's going to be an old Horford and a potentially banged up Porzingis.
Right.
Going up against a young, athletic duo in Washington and
Exactly.
Gafford. So there's going to be a lot of matchups that are going to be very interesting to see.
So let's get into my picks, JB's picks. Just please, it really is so hard for me to say this. It pains me. It actually hurts my heart so much.
I think it's healthy to let these things out.
I know, but I'm going to say, I hate it. I'm going to say Celtics in 6 games. This is probably the most realistic take. Bias taken away. All Heat pride taken away. You know, Heat Nation, you know deep down I want to pick the Mavericks. And I want the Mavericks to win. Don't get this twisted. I'm going to be cheering for the Mavericks during the finals. If JT is not playing well, I'm going to be cheering. I'm going to be clapping my hands. I'm going to be like, let's go. Jason Tatum's missing shots. Finally. I want that. But matchup by matchup, I just think there's a lot of boxes that the Celtics check for me. A lot of boxes.
Yeah, for me, I think I want this series to go 7 because I just want to see a finals go 7 again. Like, you can't beat Game 7 finals basketball. Right. But I'm going to have to agree with you. Celtics in 6. But if Luka and Kyrie, if Kyrie goes back to the Garden and gets like 30 or 40 and the Mavericks lose, bro, that'll do it for me. I just want to see the, Kyrie revenge storyline, and also Porzingis
is
Dallas. So
right.
There's a lot, but yeah, it comes down to matchups, and the only matchup that the Mavericks win is Luka and Kyrie. I mean, because Kyrie a point guard, Derek White's not guarding Kyrie. I mean, he's going to get...
No, I think, going back to that, I think Drew Holiday's going to guard Kyrie.
What am I talking about?
I think Drew Holiday's going to guard Kyrie, and in my opinion, I think Celtics win that matchup.
Yeah.
Because I get it. Kyrie, he can get his own on offense, but Drew Holiday can also get his own on offense, and he's the best on-ball defender at the guard position in the league, and he can guard any position. Like, when Drew Holiday gets switched onto a 4, he can sit there and still, he's like a brick wall.
He can hold his own.
Yeah, right. He can hold his own against bigger guys and also smaller guys. I don't think he's going to have a problem. And Derek White, to me, I know you said Luka's going to get his, which I believe he will, but Derek White's still a threat on the offensive end, and he had a couple of games. I think he had one game with 5 steals against Pacers. I think it was game 4. So, I mean, he can pick Luka's pocket a little bit, and I wonder on the pick and roll, will they make Luka go to his weak side on his knee? Will they get dirty? Will they stick legs out? Will they try to not intentionally injure him, but at least make it effective?
You got to play physical with them. You got to go to their disadvantage, and that knee is a big disadvantage for Luka right now. And that's how deep the Celtics team is. I forgot about Drew Holiday.
Like even Pritchard. Pritchard's coming off the bench, which I love Pritchard. He can create.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm sorry. Like, on the Mavericks, Dante Exum is the only guy you can equally say, oh, he's a point guard, but Dante Exum should not be in the league right now.
And he just came back in the league after being out for. Last time I heard of Dante Exum, he was in 2K15 storyline, and then so he just came back in the league, and he's been good for the Mavericks coming back in the league after 4 or 5 years. But yeah, I mean, Pritchard, White, Holiday. I mean, the Celtics guards are elite. Like Pritchard is T.J. McConnell. We just seen in the Pacers series. Pritchard is that times 5 to me, and younger, more athletic than McConnell, and that's going to be a big factor coming off the bench for the C's.
And I think looking at it, Kyrie's been super efficient. He's been just getting buckets. He's had his moments, and I saw this crazy stat. It was like, I think the last time since Elgin Baylor and Jerry West, where they were a duo in the playoffs in a single series, had like 3 30-plus point games each.
Yeah.
In an entire series. Like, that's history right there. Like, you're talking the 60s NBA Finals here.
Yeah, we've seen Hall of Fame duos since then. I mean, like, Kobe, Shaq, LeBron, and Kyrie, and their run.
Where do you rank Luka and Kyrie in all-time duos?
I feel like they get discredited because they're 2 guards. They're not the traditional, like, big man and forward or guard. I don't know, all-time Luka, Kyrie, I think they definitely got to be top 10. I mean, Kyrie is one of the best, like, top 2, if not 1, best ISO player of all time.
Best ball handler of all time.
And Luka has, like, the IQ of LeBron, and he's at, the point guard position, and he is way better, 3-point percentages than LeBron. So, they're TFP top 10 for me.
I would put him top 10 too.
Yeah.
I would arguably put him top 5.
Yeah.
Just how skilled that duo is, because there's so many things you can do, and you can switch back and forth. It's weird because the Batman Robin thing, which Robin, I feel like Kyrie to me, he's a Robin, but he's not a Robin. Like he's so good.
He's on his own. Like it feels like within the duo, he's on his own. That's what it
like
feels
he can take over a game whenever he wants, and like what he has never lost a closeout game in his entire life in the NBA.
Yeah.
Like, bro, what are we talking
like
about?
veteran Kyrie, like it's crazy. Like he's like nothing off the court. I didn't care about stuff off the court when it did happen for Kyrie, but like he's just killing out there. He's a killer, and that's exactly what he's doing. He's the closest thing to Kobe we got right now.
Closest thing to Kobe right now is Kyrie Irving.
I mean, who else is it?
Anthony Edwards.
I mean, I guess see that bigger body, better on
I
defense.
mean, Anthony Edwards is getting paired to Jordan, which I don't think that's correct at all. I would compare him to Dwayne Wade, in my opinion. His game reminds me more of Dwayne Wade with a better 3.
Yeah.
I wouldn't put him in Jordan.
I still go. I think Kyrie's closest thing to Kobe over Ant. I'd still go that just because how his offensive skill, and you really can't. You have nothing for Kyrie really. And
You could just put him like like those floaters. Like, I mean, you saw the game winner against the Nuggets early in the season where he just put that left-handed
nobody
floater
else
over
is doing
him.
that in the league. Nobody's doing that in the league.
Right, nobody. And he was doing it in the last series too.
Yeah.
Like putting up in the mid-range. I mean, man's a beast.
Yeah, he's Uncle Drew. He's nice. He's nice.
We all know like it's going to be a good series. I'm just wondering if the Mavericks get to the point where Luka is not getting his, somebody has to step up. This series is all going to be about role players on both teams who can have, like PJ Washington, like in the OKC series. Like he had a game where he had 7 threes. They're going to need somebody like that to have a big game because, I'm sorry, let's just be real. Celtics are winning in 6, but it could be a sweep. It could be 5 games if Luka and Kyrie don't have
100%.
30 every game. I feel like Luka and Kyrie have to be on every single night for them to win. And how realistic is that? I don't know how realistic. They've been on a historic pace, but can they keep it up? That's the question.
Back to PJ Washington, I feel like he didn't miss in the Clippers series in round 1. Like every time I looked at the TV, he's just nothing but net threes in the corner every single time. And it's absolutely going to come down to role players because we don't know if Tatum's going to get his, but we know Brown is, we know Holiday is, we know Porzingis is going to come back and do things from behind the three-point line that shouldn't be happening at his height. And Kyrie and Luka are going to do what they do. So it's going to come down to Washington, Gafford, Tim Hardaway Jr. He's been banged up a lot.
Right. I was gonna. Is he gonna play in this series? Because I've been trying to figure it out. He's been out with that shoulder injury, and then he had that ankle sprain.
Yeah, and then he played. Was it the Nuggets series where he played like a
not the Nuggets series? I think he played in the Thunder series for a little bit, but
like 10. Yeah.
I'm sorry, we got a motorcycle behind us. We'll cut this, but I think Tim Hardaway. I'm glad you brought that up because I think typical 3-and-D guy. He can come in and he can guard anybody, and he's also a great 3-point shooter.
Yeah.
So I think they've definitely been missing him in these playoffs.
Yeah. I don't know. The Celtics. If the Celtics don't do it now, they're never going to do it.
Oh, if they don't do it now, Celtics Nation, you're going to be hearing from me. I'm just saying that. Like, because I'm done giving Jason Tatum any excuses. And if he does not show up in these finals, I don't want to hear like any of this nonsense. Oh, he's the best player in the league. Oh, he's the next face of the league. Like, I don't want to hear that. If Jason Tatum doesn't perform in this series, I'm going to say Jaylen Brown is worth that money, 1. And 2, he's a better player than Jason Tatum.
Or whether they win or not, I don't think Jaylen Brown is worth that money. I have a better left hand than him. That's ridiculous. But I mean, that's the market now, so everything's going to keep going up. So I'm guessing so that's just how natural evolution.
Did you hear like Shea Gilgeous-Alexander? He's going to be the first player ever to have like an $80 million salary at the end of his contract because his extension is insane that he can sign.
Yeah, that is unbelievable. I mean, all these contracts are going to keep getting higher and higher, and the old guard's out. KD, LeBron, everybody's on their way out, and it's going to be Shea, it's going to be Ant, it's going to be Tatum maybe. I don't know. I feel like Celtics, they should have went to the finals last year. I mean,
they should have, but I'm so glad they didn't because you ran into playoff Jimmy, which he's a problem. We didn't get to see playoff Jimmy this season.
Yeah,
that's why the Celtics are in the finals right now. I don't.
Do you really think the Heat would have beat the Celtics if they had Jimmy?
Absolutely.
Oh, I don't know about that. Caleb Martin was playing terrible.
Okay, fine. But
Yo, and
remember
I'm
last year.
Gabe Vincent, you should have took him back. Gabe Vincent.
But
was
do you know
the
how much
worst
money he
three-point
wanted?
Shooter, yeah, and we paid him. Rob Pelinka forked him up $20 million to have him hit the side of the backboard 5 times against the Nuggets. I mean, we need 3-point shooting, and that guy is wow. I cannot believe we got catfished by Gabe Vincent.
I do think the Heat would have beaten the Celtics. I'm very confident. Like you can't and we had Tyler Hero. First of all, last year we played them. We didn't have Tyler.
He was hit or miss that series too, right?
I know.
Like
he went. I think game 1 he went like 1 for 8, just in general. But the second game we had 24 threes.
Yeah, and then you can't.
Like a record. That's what we needed, and we didn't have anybody.
I feel like you guys. Well, Jaime Jaquez was your best player that series. I feel like is that true? As me,
I would say Bam Adebayo.
Oh yeah, Bam. Yeah.
Bam Adebayo was probably the best player, but he just had nobody. He had nobody else, and Heat culture is a real thing, people. It is the grittiness, the hard work, the scrappiness we play with. It disrupts any team in the league, and that's how the Knicks play. I mean, that's another team that plays like that. And even the Pacers,
Yeah, but
they play like that too.
Spoelstra doesn't run his players into the ground like Sims does, though. Like Sims does, but I don't know. I think if Jimmy Butler was healthy, maybe you guys have got one more game.
I think we win that series.
I don't think you're winning the series.
We win that series.
I don't know. So, all right. So, let's just say you win the series, right? And then what? What do you guys go to the finals?
Oh, when we play the Mavericks, oh my gosh, that would be a win.
You guys get through the East?
Absolutely.
All right, hold on. Let's just take injuries out of this. What do you think happens in the East?
Injuries out of this, I think conference finals is Heat, Knicks. I think the Knicks make it out with Julius Randle. I think.
Julius Randle, yeah.
Okay, Bucks, to me, with Doc Rivers, I think they were bound to collapse at some point anyways. I think they were going to go out in the second round. I just don't think they had the chemistry and the camaraderie they needed because you can't just, in my opinion, I don't even think Doc Rivers should have been hired and Andrew Griffin should have been fired because they were still a good team. They were still top 3 in the East when they fired him.
I agree with you on that as well.
There was no point in doing that. Like same with the Lakers. Like I feel like for me, they needed the continuity and they needed consistency and they just got rid of Darvin Ham, which in my opinion, it was his fault, but it wasn't at the same time. Like, you can only control so much as a coach because you're not the player. You can't go on the floor and will your way to a basket. It's impossible.
Yeah, and with Darvin Ham, I mean, what are you going to do when your starting point guard, D'Angelo Russell, for 0 points in the playoffs? He had one game where he had no three-pointers, it's 0 points, and he comes back with 18 points, 6 of 12. Now that's his comeback game. He has a comeback game every playoff series because he stinks every other game. Like, it's not, Darvin Ham wasn't the best coach, but should he have been fired? I don't know. Should we hire J.J. Redick? Absolutely not.
Why not? You don't like it?
No. I mean, it's going to turn into
like the Mind the Game
the
podcast?
Los Angeles James is on the way. We're going to get Bronny. We're going to get J.J. Redick. They're going to do a podcast. They're going to kumbaya the whole operation. It's over.
Hold on,
It's over.
I want to interject for a second. You said it's L.A. James. It's Los Jamulus, if we want to call this, okay?
Dude, whatever it is.
It's been that way since LeBron's been in Cleveland. He's the general manager on every single team. That's why
this is to another level.
Didn't let him. That's why he left the Heat because Pat Riley's like, no, you're not going to be the general manager. LeBron is not a good GM. I don't care. You put all these. Anthony Davis to me is he's the thing that irritates me, and because he can be the best player in the league, but he just doesn't do it. Like, I've seen him put up 34 points and 23 rebounds, but then the next game he's like 18 points, like 3 rebounds, and he's like, 5 of like 20 something from the field. I mean, he's just so inconsistent to me, and he's like glass. He's ready to break at any moment.
In that game 5 against the Nuggets, when he bumped shoulders with, who was it? I think it was Jamal Murray, like the lightest graze I've ever seen. He goes on the floor and act like he just got shot in the shoulder. I don't get it. Like, all year, like, let alone, you're talking about AD, best player in the league. Like, coming out of the Pelicans, like, that's what everybody expected. And LeBron was supposed to give AD the reins to Los Angeles 3 years ago. And now LeBron's 40, and he's the best player on the team still. Or obviously he's going to be the best player on the team, but
you're right.
You're
right. He's the best player on the team. Keep going.
This is ridiculous. Like, God, like, Anthony Davis has regressed. He's regressed mentally ever since coming to LA. Like, I don't know what LA does to people. LA cooks role players. Like, obviously Gabe Vincent hits the side of the backboard more than he hits the bottom of the net. and AD just gets hurt, and it's just the whole thing is we should blow it up, and we honestly should. We're not winning nothing. Like, we led for 160 minutes against the Nuggets for no reason at all. Like, so we should blow it up, but we're not, and it's gonna be another 2 years until LeBron retires. And then we'll take another 10 years to reset. And I'm sure we'll end up getting Ant at age 35 or something, and we'll, put that into the ground. So, yeah, we're cooked.
Let me ask you this. Since you obviously, we know you feel very passionate about this, but do you think Rob Pelinka is a terrible GM? Because I do.
Yeah, I do as well. Jalen Hood-Schfinko last year in the draft, what does he do? He hasn't done anything.
Okay, to be fair, I will back up Jalen Hood-Schifino. I watched him at IU.
Yeah,
I thought he was a great player. I thought he was a good pickup. It's what you needed, but he's a rookie. Give him one more year.
It's not in fact he's a rookie. He didn't get no playing time.
Right.
And like Austin Reeves, like we're gonna pay him.
I don't like he's a terrible defender, man.
Yeah, you're telling me Jamal Murray had 15 game winners in 4 games. I don't know how it's possible. He had every fourth quarter, Jamal Murray, he's not some killer in the fourth quarter. It was just.
No. He's some killer in the fourth quarter.
Against us. But what happened against the Timberwolves?
Okay, well, against the Timberwolves in Game 7, first of all, what happened was they had 5 bench points, the Nuggets did. Okay,
yeah.
Christian Brown was the best bench player. And Jokic and Murray were the only guys who had double figures, and guess what? Both of those guys had 33 and 34, and no other guy had double figures. Okay, Murray cooks in the playoffs.
Murray went from Austin Reeves guarding him in crunch time to Jaden McDaniels and Ant Edwards. That's a huge,
But we all knew going into that series the Lakers weren't going to win.
Did we all know?
I did.
I knew after game 1. That's for sure.
I knew.
God,
how do you guys leave for 47 minutes and not close it out? How is that even possible?
I mean, LeBron is turning 40 this year, and he's putting everything mentally and physically into the game just to pass it to D'Angelo Russell and for him to dribble around for 20 seconds and do nothing with it. And then, imagine being 40 years old and then you look over at, what's 80, 29, 28?
Something like that. He might be 30.
Right.
I'll put up a graphic just so.
Yeah, well, AD is significantly younger than Bron and is made of glass, like you said, and it's just ridiculous.
He's significantly younger. Thank you for that, because
it is ridiculous.
And you guys didn't have Jared Vanderbilt, which I don't know how you feel about him.
I like him. I like him. He's a great defender. I mean, his offense could use a lot of working on, but he would have been good to throw Murray in the last 5 minutes of every single game in the series.
So what do you think it was? The one key thing that just couldn't get you guys over that hump, because we obviously know, as a roster, it's one of the best rosters in the league. No excuse. On paper, it, in my opinion, should have won you an NBA championship. On paper, you guys went and picked up Christian Wood, Jackson Hayes, and then you guys did
all that for Jokic.
Yeah.
Christian Hayes was strictly for Jokic. That was our. Yeah, how about AD, first game of the season? Yeah, me and Bron talked about the Nuggets. I'm sure they talked about it. Because he only won one more game than we did last year. I wasn't talking for no reason. Yeah, bro. I'll talk about AD all day, but we couldn't finish.
Do you think Bronny will be a good addition to the Lakers family? He's currently the 50th player in the draft right now.
He'll be a good addition to the South Bay Lakers in the G League. Well, we can sell some tickets there, because if I see Bronny in the Lakers uniforms, obviously, it's nothing against him, bro. It's just the situation, and there's so many other better players in this draft than Bronny.
I think Bronny should have stayed in college, in my opinion. I think a guy having cardiac arrest, I'll give him slack, because it does take a while for you to build up your conditioning and get back to game shape. But at the same time, I feel like you got to go to college and be the man. Because let's be honest, Bronny's never been the best player on any team he's been on in his entire life.
Role player.
Look at his 8th grade team in Blue Chips. Mm-hmm. Mikey Williams was the best player on that team.
Yeah, but Gabe Helps was getting all those points.
Was Bronny,
I don't know. He only has done workouts for the Suns and the Lakers and denied every other team workouts. I don't know what that's about, but I don't know. It's going to be very interesting.
How happy would you be if the Lakers took him with the 17th pick instead of the 55th?
Dude, if we take him with the 17th pick, that might be the worst first-round pick. He's not a first-round talent at all. he had the third highest vertical in the combine, 40.5 inch. That's great. That's cool. His jump shot, that's good too. I mean, but he does have a slow jump shot, and he's 6'1". His release point he's gonna get packed at like shooting threes. Like, it's gonna be interesting. And when the Lakers do this at 17, I'm gonna turn off the TV fast, dude. Faster than when I walked out. When Jamal Murray got switched on to Austin Reeves, I was at the door of my friend's apartment, ready to leave. So yeah, the Lakers we're not going to the chip anytime soon, and we're done. So
no for next year.
None at all. I mean,
what if you guys get Klay Thompson?
Oh wow, Klay Thompson, wow, hang the banner. Because he had a big game against the Kings, that closeout game, 0 points. Klay Thompson should come to Orlando. That's what everybody's saying. He should come to Orlando and, I don't know, just sit in the corner at the Amway Center, at the Kia Center, whatever they're calling it.
I'm so glad you brought up that Orlando team because, honestly, I think they had a great season. They took the Cavs 7. I like Paolo. I like Jalen Suggs, Cole Anthony, which Franz Wagner, I love.
Yeah, I mean,
Franz Wagner.
In the playoffs, both brothers were very chippy in the playoffs. That was great.
Right.
Like, I brought all the first round matchups were kind of iffy. On the East, but
it was Niang and Wagner getting into it.
Minivan and Wagner.
Remember the tweets with Niang saying he was like, I could be in the league.
Yeah, there's a picture of him at the free throw line, and like, how is this guy in the league? Best shooter, but yeah. The Magic they improved. Resurrected Markelle Fultz. I mean, I did not know that was going to happen at all. I thought Markelle Fultz was Ben Simmons times 2, and he's proved me wrong. Markelle Fultz played great. Cole Anthony, they have a great young team.
They do. I like their team, and they're well coached. I think they have a great future. I do like how you mentioned Markelle Fultz because we thought. Remember when he was bumping at the free throw line? Yeah. We all remember that.
Fultz. Yeah, and he's hitting threes and he's playing his role, and that's always what he was. Like coming out of Washington, like I never thought he was that top guy. I never thought he was going to be that top guy, and he's playing his role to a great level.
I didn't either. Coming out of Washington, I thought he was a very ball dominant pick and roll point guard. Mm-hmm. He was a scorer, but. Speaking of LA, I do want to stay on LA just for a second. Mm-hmm. The Clippers, because that was my original championship pick.
So I can tell you that one.
Let's just, Kawhi Leonard, please, for the sake of this Clippers franchise and Steve Ballmer and everyone a part of this place, do not go play USA basketball because you cannot stay on the court as it is. So do not go over to Paris and then possibly blow up your knee because you weren't able to be available. And when you were available, the Clippers lost both of their games in the playoffs. So he has to be available. You cannot play this summer if you're Kawhi Leonard because let's just be honest here. When they got Paul George and Kawhi Leonard in 2019, everyone was like, oh, like it's a championship.
Yeah.
What have they done? They've made one conference finals and Kawhi didn't even play in it? I mean, that's what we've seen so far. Paul George, he's had his moments. He's playoff P, and remember everyone in the bubble, he hit the side of the backboard. Everyone wanted that LA versus LA West Conference Finals. We never got it.
That's no fault of the Lakers. We won a few times, okay? All right, we won a few times, and the Clippers, the
Clippers have to be the biggest disappointment in the NBA because they have the talent.
Harden, Kawhi Leonard, Paul George,
Westbrook, Norman Powell, Zubac, Terrence Mann.
Like, what are we?
Like, come on. Dexter White, and then Tyronn Lue's coaching.
I thought it was going to be Clippers Celtics. The Clippers,
I did too. That's
the Clippers have the same roster makeup as the Celtics. Like how each position is just very above average from everybody else in the league, and they can just never do it.
Plumlee,
was it you got to practice where Kawhi couldn't see, sat on the bench and went to the back, or was that in end of the regular season?
I can't remember.
There's so many injuries with Kawhi. It's hard to remember.
I can't the timeline in my head is scrolling right now because I can't remember if Kawhi Leonard tore his meniscus or his ACL or if he broke his middle finger.
Ever since the Spurs, ever since the Raptors championship. What did he I didn't see him get injured this playoff run. He just
he was injured before that during the season. He played most of the year. Let's not forget in January the Clippers went on that stretch and they were the number 1 seed in the West. Everyone was like, okay, here come the Clippers, here they come. And then because to me I was like, okay, Clippers are winning it all, but I always had this thought in the back of my head. Well, it's not a matter of how. Yeah. It's when Kawhi Leonard gets hurt.
Yeah. It's hard in the playoffs. That's iffy. Kawhi, the knee just falls apart around April every year. And Paul George, where's Paul though? We're still looking for him. I don't know where he's at. PJ Washington, owned him.
What has Paul George done since he was on the Pacers?
He's done nothing. I mean, what he wants to. No,
He
done
went
nothing.
to 2 conference finals in 2013 and 2014.
I wish when he went to the Thunder. Wow.
Yeah, with the Thunder, with Melo, Westbrook, MPG, like.
I wish they.
Are
did
you
something.
kidding me right now? How do you not at least get out of the first round? They lost to the Jazz, a rookie Donovan Mitchell, and then the defensive player of the year, air quotes, stressing that with Rudy Gobert. I'm serious. He's got to be the worst defender I've ever seen for a defensive player of the year. He has to be.
Anthony Davis should I'm trying to take bias out of it, but Anthony Davis should have won Defensive Player of the Year this year. I mean,
Even Bam Adebayo should have had a better chance of Rudy. Let's be honest here.
if he wins it again next year, I mean, a lot of the NBA awards are becoming like jokes, especially with the 65 games, like minimum and all that. And if Gobert wins it again next season, doing the exact same thing he did this season, it's the Defensive Player of the Year is. I mean, I could win it next year. Who knows? I don't know. What am I talking about?
You just got to be 7-3, and you got to be able to put your hands up at this point.
Yeah. I mean,
Because I think Wemby should have won it.
Wemby should have won Rookie of the Year and Defensive Player of the Year. I mean, the wingspan, the height. You have nothing for Wemby. You get to the free throw line and your shot is blocked. If not blocked, it's contested to the point where you're going to miss it.
So I was not going to bring this up, but I'm going to. I want to talk WNBA just real quick.
Okay.
Caitlin Clark has been getting a lot of flack for everything she's been doing for the league. A lot of former players have been coming out and saying, why have we not been getting the recognition we deserve? She came in day one and has been putting this league on a pedestal, charter flights, all this things have been happening, ratings have been going up. What are your thoughts on these players that are in the league and how they're treating Caitlin Clark?
I feel like obviously they're benefiting from her popularity and obviously the charter flights like you mentioned, but I mean they're doing I can't blame them for being physical with her, and because
it's part of the game.
Yeah, they seen what she did in college and now they're like, all right, now prove it to me that you can do it in the professional ranks. And with the one flagrant the other day, it wasn't really a flop, but it wasn't that bad. And obviously, because it's a WNBA, it's gonna be viewed a little different than the NBA.
Right.
But I feel like they're doing exactly what they're supposed to do. And with Caitlin Clark, if she does what she's projected to do, and she proves that she's this all-time generational great player, then they'll notice that and they're going to have to bend the knee to her because she's going to be, hopefully, owning the league in the next 2 years.
And even Andrew Reese, she came out in an interview and took some credit for where the WNBA is now. I think that's bold to me. That's gutsy. I wouldn't go out on a limb like that and be like, oh, I just came into the league. I played 10 games. I am why the league is right here. That is crazy to say.
Especially when she, LSU had the better team both years, and obviously, they won, but they won the 1 year. But if you're Angel Reese, Caitlin Clark, literally, you should have been picked. If you did all this or whatever, and I like Angel better than Caitlin Clark. Yeah, then you should have picked number one. You should have had all this popularity, but she wasn't. She's number two, and she's got to get used to being number two because I don't think that's going to change.
Because I think it's growing women's sports, women's basketball. I'm glad to see where it is. And I also saw Monica McNutt on First Take just absolutely go in on Stephen A saying, you could have been covering this a while ago with his platform. Do you really feel that these, everyone in the mainstream should have been covering the WNBA before this? Or do you think it just organically got mainstream because of these two players?
Well, it did organically grow, but talking about shows like First Take and national debate shows, they're not going to talk about something that's not going to draw numbers. And maybe they talked about the WNBA playoffs and finals when it was on ESPN, so they quite literally had to talk about it. But yeah, should have they talked about it sooner? That comes down to what the ratings were showing, and I promise you the ratings were probably showing that when they did talk about it, a lot of people turned it off in the past. But that's not, for now in the future, that's the exact opposite. When you're talking Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese, that's drawing numbers. So I feel like it's not a Stephen A issue. Like, he's the main face of the show, but
I wouldn't directly take it out on him.
yeah, it's more of the executives and a lot of people that go into making the show. But to get numbers, to get
You gotta
ratings,
have compelling things to talk.
yeah, and
You gotta have relevant things to talk about.
and that wasn't relevant at the time. So
No.
how can you blame them?
No, I want to segue into one more conversation before we close this out. NBA TNT crew with Ernie, Charles, Shaq, those guys, Kenny. The next season is going to be their last season, and that's sad for me because we've been both growing up on that show and we love that crew together. But do you think there's any way those guys stay together with going to another network? Because I keep hearing Ernie's not going to leave TNT and NBC or some other network is going to pick them up and Ernie won't go with them. I feel like if you have a band like that, you've got to keep it together because that's just greatness on a plate served to you 24/7. It's just, I don't want to see that show die, but I feel like, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's going to have a bad exit to the NBA world.
Well, yeah, I feel like bad exit and why isn't just like how much it's loved and it's gone now, or I feel like next season.
Just how missed it will be.
Oh yeah, I feel like next season they're gonna go all out. Like it's literally gonna be like it's probably gonna be the funniest it's been. They're gonna bring back all the old jokes and gags, and they're gonna play all the hits. But yeah, I mean, what NBC was there was $3 billion, and Turner had to match it.
Yeah, and I don't think they were able to match it, unfortunately.
And I know Chuck has mentioned that starting his own, picking it up with his production company would be great. But yeah, Ernie's not leaving Turner. His father was there. He's there. He does baseball, playoff baseball with TNT. And yeah, it's gonna be sad to see because ESPN's show, their countdown show, they try to make it with Wilbon and Perk and Malik Andrews. And
right, you put reputable names up
and
there
it's not
so people are familiar, and that crew's just been together for so long. Because I like Chuck and Shaq going back and forth. Hey, I got no rings,
yeah. And the Galveston thing, it just it used to be it was San Antonio obviously was a joke, and now the Galveston thing was funny. But yeah, it's gonna be. I don't know what they're going to do with the show and who's gonna be the next name that names that get acquired, because I mean Shaq and Chuck, two of the greatest personalities in sports broadcasting, from an analyst position.
Right.
And then Kenny, he obviously up to the big board. He brings the more basketball side to it. And then Ernie's
Ernie's
the GOAT host.
He's just literally the greatest of all time.
Yeah,
I think.
yeah, he's the best at his job. So I don't know what they're going to do with it, but it's definitely going to be tough after next season.
I know I keep saying one more thing, but this is final thing. I promise, guys. But we'll go back to the finals just for 1 second, just to get some quick questions out of here. So we're both taking Celtics in 6. That's correct?
Yes.
So we're going to go team by team. We're going to go Celtics. Who is the player that is the X factor in this series for the Celtics?
It's going to be Porzingis. Whether, first of all, if he's healthy, and if he is healthy, if he could create like he was doing for the first couple games against the Heat, being able to hit, put the ball on the floor, a quick 2-dribble, then into a step back at 7 foot, that's, pretty much unguardable. It's going to be Porzingis on the defensive end with Gafford, with Washington, and whatever, rotations or switches happen with that. So it's going to come down to the unicorn.
I'm going to say for the Celtics, I'm going to go Drew Holiday, but I would also like to throw Coach Mazzulla in there as well, even though he's not a player.
That's a good one.
I think if he gets out-coached in this series, we're going to see it, and that is going to be a huge piece because Jason Kidd's a great coach. Mm-hmm. And if Coach Mazzulla he's struggled in the playoffs and to get rotations and game plans and things like that.
Yeah.
I was talking about tossing between Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. He's got to be able to find that even threshold, but Drew Holiday has to be able to lock up Kyrie Irving and also be able to give you 20 points on the offensive end of the ball. He has to be able to do both, which he's going to be tired, but I think Drew Holiday, he's the X factor. They went and got him in the trade because they knew the amount of defense, and he could replace Marcus Smart on that end as well. So I think he's going to be key for them.
Yeah, and back to, that was a great point about Mazzulla, yeah. Mazzulla, he just inherited Ime's team and Ime's system. And
You can't tell if he's a good coach or not because of the amount of talent he has.
And Brad Stevens still is in the building, and we know how much input he's putting into the actual on-court product.
And we know how great of a coach Brad Stevens was.
Yeah, literally, like they went from Stevens to Ime, like that's.
And Ime Udoka was a great coach.
Like wow, like I went to the Lakers, that would have got him when he went to before he went to the Rockets. Yeah. For me, it's Porzingis though, and then you.
And then for the Mavericks, who's your key player you're looking out for?
I don't know. I feel like it's an easy answer and a cliche to say Kyrie. So obviously it's going to be Kyrie. Everybody knows that. And man, it's going to be PJ Washington. Whether he can continue to consistently knock down the three-point shot open, and then on the defensive end having to deal with Porzingis. And then if Al Horford gets going in this series too, I mean, if you're the Mavericks, that's the last person you want. If Al Horford starts getting going, then it might be a 4 or 5 game series for the Celtics.
I'm going to go for the Mavericks, Daniel Gafford. I think he's the X factor in this series because the Western Conference Finals shot 75% from the field, was super efficient. He was playing great defense inside, blocking shots, getting rebounds. If he can make it difficult for Porzingis and Horford inside, and then don't forget Derek Lively as well. He went perfect in the Western Conference Finals.
Super athletic.
First time since 1980 that players went perfect in a playoff series.
Super athletic.
I don't know if he's. I'm not going to sit here and say he's going to continue his perfect streak, but Daniel Gafford, to me, it's a shocker that I'm picking him, in my opinion, because there's a lot of other players you go with, Luka, Kyrie, but I think we've talked about this, role players. You have to have one guy step up, and I think Gafford can play good enough defense because Porzingis is not good in the post. You're not going to see him posting up. You see him primarily on the perimeter, going to that step back, creating on that end.
Floor, yeah.
Correct. I just don't see him going in and trying to challenge Gafford in the interior. I don't see that.
And the Celtics, this is going to be the best big man group they've seen all playoffs.
I would say Siakam and Turner definitely up there in my opinion.
Well, Siakam's like 6'8",
but Miles Turner is arguably one of the best shot blockers in the league. Okay, I'll give you defensively.
I feel like Gafford, Washington,
it's definitely arguable.
Lively. Yeah, it's definitely arguable, but they're going to give the Celtics hell in the paint for sure. And when it comes down to role players, like people say defense wins championships in football, and in basketball, role players win championships.
Who's your finals MVP?
So if I'm going Celtics in 6, I think, I mean, you asked me Brown or Tatum. If I see that, it could go Holiday as well. I think this is the series where Tatum puts his big boy pants on. I swear to God, if he texts Kobe before this series, if he texts Kobe, Mavericks in 4, bro. That messed everything up I just said, but it's I feel like it's gonna be Tatum. He's gonna show out now. He's gonna prove himself because he's had a slow postseason, and he's not gonna have a slow finals.
And we've talked about that 3-point shot. If he can be consistent, I'll go Jaylen Brown to be Finals MVP because I'm not picking Jason Tatum. I don't trust him. Don't trust him in the clutch. Don't trust him in the fourth quarter because we mentioned his stats in the fourth quarter. Please, please, please be aware of that. Fourth quarter, Jason Tatum is going to collapse. He's not going to know where his big boy pants are located. Okay? He's going to have them for the first 3 quarters. He's going to be like the Atlanta Falcons in the Super Bowl against the Patriots. They're going to be very alert, very attentive for the first 3 quarters, and then they're going to start dozing off in the fourth quarter. I think that's what's going to happen with Jason Tatum. It's going to happen.
Yeah, Tatum, Brown, that would be great. And Brown's story back-to-back. He has Eastern Conference Finals MVP, then goes into the Finals MVP. Lastly, for me, I have one more question to ask you. Last year, why didn't Jimmy Butler touch the trophy? I mean,
why?
Come on, remember?
Are you talking about the Eastern Conference Trophy?
He said
because he's after something bigger. The Eastern Conference Trophy is not the NBA.
He's going to be after for. I don't
think he's going to be doing that. I think he's okay. Jimmy is stuck in his ways that's why he's so good at hate culture, because he's not going to touch the trophy because there's a bigger prize out there, an NBA championship. The Heat only go for championships. We don't go for NBA season tournament cups, okay?
Hey,
we don't go for those.
All right, it's all about we're gonna be defending. That's the Lakers, bro. I'll see you in the in-season tournament championship, whatever they're calling it. All right.
That was the highlight of their season.
Damn right it was. Okay. We got Darvin Ham with his hands in his pockets all season. All right. We already won the Lakers, but we're going back-to-back regular season tournament champions.
Oh,
you heard it here first.
That's the biggest deal on the planet, but I think we'll close it out with this cup talk because I'm not going into this. So, but this has been Brandon Ferguson, a Lakers fan right here. You've seen how passionate he is about the Lakers, but I appreciate your
Thank you.
Your conversation.
Great. That was great.
This is fun.
Thank you.
But I'm your host, Jackson Burleson. Of course, you guys have been listening to another episode of the Take Podcast. Hit the subscribe button. Also comment who's going to win the NBA Finals and whether you think Jason Tatum is going to pull through or not. But I will see you guys in the next episode. Peace out.
Talk to me, baby. Talk to me nice. I'm from another world, baby, yeah. Red wave paradise. They think I'm way too cold, cause I put